person we have tonight is Barry Haynes. Barry's been here a couple times before. Barry is the author of Photoshop Artistry. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
You have, how many volumes of that do you have?
Well, I've done 8 editions.
8 editions.
Right.
Of that. And he used to be down in the Eugene area, right?
Corvallis.
Yeah, excuse me. And now you're up in Canada.
That's right.
British Columbia?
British Columbia, yes. That's what you're seeing, where there's actually oysters in the tide pools, yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and these strange
and you can
things
eat them
too.
Probably.
Well, sometimes, yeah, it depends on where they are, yes.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time introducing him because a lot of you probably know Barry, has read his books and so forth. So let's, without further ado, Barry Haynes.
Welcome. Thanks for coming out. Good to see so many people I've seen before. Appreciate that. I'm sort of trying out this talking thing because I haven't done it for a while, because for the last 3 years I've tried the art gallery thing. So I don't know if you're a photographer and you ever thought about, oh, maybe I'd like to have my own gallery one day. Well, that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. And you know, I worked at Apple for 10 years, so I wrote software. And then I was at Apple and I saw Russell Brown giving a demo of Photoshop one day, and I got a copy of it from him after the demo. That was like in 1989. So I've been using Photoshop for 20 years. And then I started teaching Photoshop classes, and then I've written these books. I don't know if you guys have seen my books. You know, they're out. I brought 3 of them and I forgot them. I left them out in the car, but they're like 500-page full-color Photoshop books for photographers. And the most recent one is called Photoshop Artistry for Photographers Using Photoshop CS2 and Beyond. And the little Beyond thing was sort of a hint that, you know, I've written 8 of these. I don't know if I can, you know, because it takes like 6 to 8 months for every book. So I get emails from people quite frequently saying, "You're going to write another book." So I may do that because you know, people come into my gallery all the time and they say, "Oh, your prints are really nice, and you know, I love them and everything," but they don't pull out their wallet quite often enough. So people like you know, photography galleries. Of course, I'm guilty of this too. I go into an art gallery and I'm like, "Oh, wow, this is really nice stuff," but you know, I don't necessarily buy anything. You know, so. So I've basically been paying the rent at the gallery. So if you ever think about having your own gallery, I think it's really important to have, you know, some place where there's a lot of foot traffic. You know, and we live in a small town. It's a very beautiful place, but it's a little bit off the beaten track. So you know, we don't get quite as much foot traffic as it would be nice. On the other chance, I like living there, so it's a trade-off, you know. So having a retail store is a totally different thing than writing software or sitting at home writing computer books. You know, it's pretty random, you know, and sometimes I have a hard time with that. It's like, you know, like if you write a computer book or you write software, you know, you do something and you get paid, and like with a book, you don't know exactly how much you're going to get paid, but you can sort of, you know, assume you're going to get something. You know, if you go teach a workshop or people come and take a workshop from you, you sort of know what you're going to get paid. But when in a store, it's like, you know, you're sitting there and you can have a Saturday where 50 people come in and they're all like, "Whoa, oh, this is great stuff. Wow, you know, my pictures don't look like this," but then they all walk out, you know. And then another day you'll have one person come in and buy $500 worth of stuff. So it's very random, you know. So anyhow, just a warning, if you're ever thinking about having your own gallery one day, make sure you pick a spot that has a lot of foot traffic, and then be willing to sit there and be patient, you know. So, but anyhow, speaking about, you know, having my own gallery, and you know, and the thing that I was going to talk about tonight, besides Photoshop, you know, to sort of meet your calibration needs, is that, you know, when I was writing Photoshop books, you know, all the companies want to send you all their toys because they want you to talk about them in your books. And then when I worked at Apple, you know, I had like a $100,000 budget to buy toys because I was in the research group. Well, you know, when you're like living in a little town and, you know, it's not a technology place and you have an art gallery, you know, I've been using that Spider 2 Pro for quite a while to calibrate my monitor, and it works, you know, well enough. And I guess, you know, at some point in the process of writing these books, you know, people were always sending me, like X-Rite would send me their $2,500 spectrophotometer, and the color calibration companies would send me their stuff. And I'd spend hours making profiles and doing all this stuff. And then at one point, I had this X-Rite spectrophotometer, and it was a serial one, and you know, the new computer was USB, so I needed to get a USB one. So I called them, and they said, "Oh yeah, we'll send you one, Barry," and they sent it to me. But the dongle for the software didn't work with the new version, you know. And I thought, well, what if I had paid for all this stuff, you know? And I just sort of said, well, you know, I'm tired of doing this, you know. I mean, you spent all this time fiddling around with all this stuff, and then I get a lot of people that read my books, and they'd go out and buy all this stuff. So you know, the people that read your books are spending all this money to buy all these things. And what I found is that, you know, 80 to 90% of the people that took my workshops, you know, they weren't necessarily meticulous enough to really make good profiles. So it seems like these days, you know, I mostly use Epson printers, and the profiles that come with the papers are really pretty good. And you know, I calibrate my monitor not that frequently, actually, with the Spider 2 Pro, and I just found that, you know, for doing stuff in a gallery, I really don't need to, you know, that's about all I need to do. You know, I've been using the same profiles on my Epson 7600 for years, because, you know, the print that I printed 3 years ago, and somebody wants to buy a new copy, I want it to look the same, so I use the same profile. And, you know, that printer is awesome. I mean, I've had it for, I got like one of the first 10 Epson 7600s. I'm still using it, you know. So I just find that I don't have to do much calibration these days.